We are already 100 strong, so we'll continue to build. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm thinking that people will continue to gather into our virtual space, but I'm going to go ahead and get started first by expressing my pleasure at being here with you this afternoon. My name is Ann Harris, and I have the honor of serving as the president of Grinnell College. So we've come together this afternoon for this hour. Really, you're seeing this as part of our continuing desire and growing expertise at coming together in virtual community, which we will continue to do, even with the on-campus experience, which is what we're focusing on here. And I wanted to just spend a few minutes here at the beginning, kind of gathering our thoughts as we gather into this room, to acknowledge how hard it is to come to a moment like this, all the different things that have had to be in place, all the different things you've experienced. I'm starting to learn some new terminology. I've heard now of pre-traumatic stress disorder. This is bracing for inevitably bad news every time you open the paper, well, your iPhone, or find out, something else that's happening and so forth. I've heard of hope fatigue, decision-making fatigue. These are all things that we're experiencing and sharing in different ways. And I just wanted to acknowledge that that's out there, even as I'm grateful and inspired by this time that we have built together with you, based on your questions, based on the expertise of the people that you'll be hearing from. There's a lot going on out there, and here we are now in our moment of virtual community. So wanted to acknowledge that, and at the same time to be inspired by our response to that. What you're about to hear is designed to resource you with knowledge, with agency, and that's to discern your problem solving, your resilience, your support for the year ahead. Our goal is that you continue to grow and to learn, and really that you continue to thrive. And these ideas, problem solving, resilience, support, that's liberal arts. So you're going to see this in action in the ideas that people have been coming up with. We've worked with love, deep love for the Grinnell community. I tell you, when I talk a little bit about the work that has gone into this, you'll see that has to come from some place of deep passion. And so I've seen the love of Grinnell in its community, in everyone that's working at the college. I've seen it in you. We've also worked with a lot of science and data. I would say we love the science and the data because we keep going back to it. We've shared it, and we will continue to share it as part of our decision making. These are all the things that go into our decision making, our planning, and our thinking long term. So you'll be hearing a lot of details, a lot of ideas. As ever, we will benefit hearing from yours. So the way we formatted this time together is that once I'm done as the facilitator for today, as the moderator for today, I will track questions in the Q&A. If we can slip answers into our process, we will do so. Otherwise, we'll do as we always have, which is collect them, discuss them, and move them into action. So please do feel free to put questions in the Q&A part of the space of your screen. I'll be monitoring those. We'll see if we can answer them even in this time. And if not, you know that we've got our commitment to your questions. I maintain this, our questions shape answers all the time. So as we enter this hour, I invite you to listen for two things. The first is the tremendous work and effort of the faculty and staff of the college. And this is my chance, not just to champion them to you, but to invite you to think and think with them and see the reinvention, the questioning, the rethinking, the reformatting and reforming that they're doing all the time. They're doing that to preserve their connection with you and your growth and your opportunity. I'm going to call it a fearless commitment to engaging with topical and complex issues. No one has shirked from things being difficult here at this college. And it's been a very open set of conversations, whether it's logistical problem solving or something bigger, cultural, systemic, that we're looking at. So you're seeing the results in this hour, but I want you to be aware of the drive that brings these results, the renowned excellence, the ingenuity, and that care and connection with you. I want to honor their labor. I want to champion their care for you. And I want to join them in working to honor your passions, your trajectories, and your goals. That's the kind of community that we're in right now. So that's the first thing that I invite you to listen for is that labor and effort and all of its reinvention and ingenuity. The second thing to listen for is an invitation for you to think about your own creative engagement with this academic year. You've heard it probably a million times. Nothing will be the same. And there's loss in that. And I want to acknowledge that. I did so, at the beginning, I'll do so in the middle and at the end. There's always this loss to acknowledge. But in the midst of that kind of deficit, where do we see opportunity? Where is your creative engagement with this academic year? You are a student of liberal arts. You are parents of liberal arts students. What is your creative engagement? What is the opportunity model? What is the growth mindset, if I can use some education lingo, right? What is the growth mindset approach to this academic year? How do we turn that loss and that heartbreak into the opportunities for rethinking learning and community? In that very low residency model, we will be thinking and living our community in a very different way. We'll have that virtual community out there. You'll want to connect to people who aren't here. We're going to be thinking about that a great deal. You who are on campus will, and actually, you know what? Grinnellians everywhere have this opportunity, have this growth mindset moment to really think about your place in the civic trust, to think about your contribution to community health, your contribution to well-being, your own and those of the people you care about, and the people you'll never see, because we're all in this space together that's been unprecedentedly connected through this pandemic. So I want to emphasize that in this time together, really focus on what is your creative engagement with this new model for the year, with this opportunity to think about what it means to be at Grinnell College in the most expansive sense of that term. I want to end just by saying, in some ways, what it all boils down to for me, liberal arts was made for this. Right? The collaborative problem solving on diverse teams, that core community piece of liberal art was made for this kind of crisis. And this is where we get to think about our labor and ingenuity. This is where we get to think about our creative engagement with that work. So having said that to you, believing that to my very core, and anticipating all the things that you're about to hear, I'm going to turn things over to the panelists. I will be tracking your questions. And as ever, I will be very, very grateful for your engagement with our process and our community. So thank you very much. And I'll turn things over to our wonderful panelists.
Hi, I'm Shivala Rivera, and I am the Chief Diversity Officer here at Grinnell. And I've actually just joined in the community 2 weeks ago. So you are my first year class. So I'm excited to start this journey with you. So we're going to learn and grow together. And so I'm looking forward to your questions and getting to know you as well. Also, my preferred pronouns are she, her, and hers. My vision in working with you and with the entire campus community is in the simplest term, is to help Grinnell fulfill its mission of providing an excellent education, also building on diversity, building on our diverse community, and helping us to be more inclusive. And also to help us learn more about social responsibility, as Anne already mentioned. Another part of my job is to work with the president and the senior staff and coming up with strategies and policies and procedures of how we can make Grinnell better, stronger, and more inclusive. We will be focusing on, of course, diversity, equity, and inclusion. My work focuses on that, and anti-racism work. So I'm very excited to start this journey and to answer your questions in that. Another thing that I love to do to give you a little bit about my framework and how I think of my work, It is based on theory and practice. Of course, that's the foundation. My background's in social science, history, and political science, and also education. But I take all of those things and I practice them with grace, patience, love, passion, and bravery. And those are the characteristics that I'm going to ask you to think about and to utilize because we all have them in us. So I would like for us to approach each other and ourselves with these qualities. I invite you to engage with new ideas, new people, and new opportunities. And please contact me with any questions that you have. I'm eager to meet you. I love referring to my students as my eagles, and we'll talk about that philosophy another time. But I definitely believe that you're great and you can soar. And I was once where you are right now, and I love sharing that with you. So I want you to know that I believe in you and I believe in the mission of this college, and I can't wait to work together. Before I pass it on to my next colleague, I would like to say, just give you a little bit of more information about the continued residence program, the continual residence program that we have, students that we have. Um, these students were selected to come back. It was an anonymous process, and students were encouraged to apply, tell us about their need, and a panel that included students, faculty, and staff selected those students. So it was as inclusive and equitable as possible. And the first spots were given to our students that had the greatest need that were identified. This list is going to grow. You will also have an opportunity to be a part of this growing list of students, and we will communicate with you and give you as much information and be as transparent as possible in this process. And we want to move forward safely. And that's all I have to say. And I will hand it over to my colleagues.
Great. Thank you so much, Anne, and thank you, Shvala. And of course, thank you all so much for being here today. My name is Caleb Elfenbein, and I just finished my 10th year teaching at Grinnell. I teach in the departments of History and Religious Studies, and I also direct the Center for the Humanities here at the college. And over the last months, I've had the privilege of working with colleagues across the institution to coordinate a lot of our planning around the academic program. And so I'd like to share some of that work with you. And I'd also just like to say at the outset that all of the things that I'm about to share with you really reflect my many years in the classroom, and I've approached this planning work in which I've been a part over the last months from the perspective of being a classroom teacher, and my love for the classroom and my love for working with students in a residential learning environment. And so it's been in that spirit that I and colleagues from across the institution have been working to reimagine a living and learning experience in the midst of a pandemic. And first and foremost, as in all of our planning, our work in reimagining the academic program for the coming year has proceeded with community health in mind. And so many of the things that I'm going to share with you over the next few minutes reflect that mindset, reflect a really deep commitment to keeping our students, our staff, and our faculty as safe and healthy as possible. So with that in mind, I'd like to begin by talking about some of the ways that we have drawn on the principle of community health to reimagine our academic program. First, and this applies both to in-person learning and learning from a distance, we've reimagined our course timetable. And I'll explain a couple of reasons why I think this is so significant and so important for our academic program. When it comes to in-person courses, of course, we all cherish the time we spend together in our classrooms. One of the great challenges of teaching and learning in the midst of a pandemic is that the way we use space, the way we inhabit space together is changing. And many of our classrooms are designed to be close together, to be working together, to be collaborating. That becomes a real challenge when we have to maintain between 6 and 8 feet distance from each other so that we can remain safe. So what does that mean in practice? That means in practice that a good number of our classrooms, our amazing classrooms, aren't going to be used the same way as we use them typically. That has a couple of implications that I'd like to share with you. First, and this connects back to the timetable. First, this means that for a lot of our classes that will happen in person over the course of this year, community health permitting, we will have fewer people in the classroom than we've had in the past. Many of our classes range from 11 to 25 students. Our classrooms are small. They're built for collaboration and close work. We simply can't have 25 people in most of our learning spaces and really stay committed to the principle of community. So having remade the course timetable, we have given each class block 2 hours. And classes can meet up to every day during the schedule and will not conflict with each other. What this means is that if we have a class of 15 students, it means that the faculty member may very well spend time with 5 students at a time in a classroom, having provided other kinds of work for students to do before arriving in the classroom, right? So thinking together, working together in shifts. This means ultimately that faculty and students will actually potentially have more time to sit and think together, to talk together in really important ways. And so with this new timetable, with this new way that we're thinking about using space, we will be teaching and learning differently. But importantly, as an institution that is so committed to a liberal arts education, we have educators who are excited about this challenge, excited about thinking together through this problem of how to use time and space in different ways. So that is one way that we have drawn on the principle of community health to reimagine our academic program for in-person instruction in the coming year. A second way that we have built on and around the principle of community health is to imagine being in the classroom with masks on, with face shields on, as we will all do as we spend time together indoors. This means that we've needed to consider whether people will be able to hear each other as they sit 6 to 8 feet apart with masks on. And we have members of our incredible technology support staff sitting in classrooms right now and installing new audio visual equipment to do things like pick up voices within the classroom and make sure that everyone is able to hear everyone else, even through masks, even with 6 to 8 feet of distance, right? So this means that we are really thinking about the small ways that presence matters, the small ways that vocalization matters in the classroom. We want to make sure that everyone can hear each other, and therefore, right, actually being able to physically hear people, to listen closely, as we expect of all of our students and faculty in the classroom, to listen closely to each other. So we're making considerable investments in classroom infrastructure to make sure that people are able to get the most out of this remade academic experience in the classroom. Now, some of our classrooms, because of their size, because they are designed for small group settings, simply won't be able to accommodate our new space needs. However, these are world-class classrooms, and we want to use them in different ways. And so we will be making small classrooms available for study groups. And we'll be including signups in our campus space system so that people will know where they can move safely and be together safely. We will have new occupancy limits in our campus space system so everyone can plan with whom they can spend time, where, as they study, as they talk about what they're reading, as they go through that last class session together in person to explore some of the ideas that have been introduced in the classroom. Another way that we're going to try to use these smaller classroom spaces is for meetings with faculty. A lot of our offices, our wonderful offices where we spend so much time preparing to teach and doing research, are simply going to be too small to host students for sessions, for these important conversations that are such a part of Grinnellian education. So we're going to use smaller classrooms to make sure that faculty and students who are on campus can work together safely, can have those conversations, but in a way that is going to keep everyone as safe and as healthy as possible. Right? So we are thinking about how to remake the way that we think about time on campus and how it relates to a classroom experience, offering larger blocks of time for classes to function, to remake the way that we think about what it means to be together in the classroom, to make sure that we have the technology in place that we can make the most out of our time together in our classrooms, to make sure that students have the opportunity to continue studying together outside of class. They can read together as long as we maintain responsible distance, of course. Right? But we want to make sure that these experiences that are so crucial to living and learning together in person are possible in a way that keeps us all safe and healthy. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share some of these ideas with you, and I look forward to seeing what kinds of questions you have about the academic program in the coming year for those living and learning in person at Grinnell. And with that, I'd like to turn things over to my colleague Sarah Motion-Ross to talk about other elements of our living and learning program.
Thanks, Caleb. My name is Sarah Motion-Ross. I lead the Division of Student Affairs, and I'm starting my 6th year at the college, and I'm very pleased to be with all of you today. For those of us that aren't, for those of you who aren't joining us for Fall 1 on campus, know that it is still our goal to bring every student to campus, and we are not going to stop working until that has happened. We won't stop working then either, but I just want to reassure you that that is top of our mind. That is our top goal. And we just care about your safety so much. And so we're figuring out ways that we can do that within this new context. Being a residential college, we have always understood the value of being on campus and the important relationships and development that happen in and outside the classroom in our residential space. That makes us as professionals uniquely equipped than a lot of other colleges at understanding what needs you have outside of the classroom and trying to construct construct opportunities to still meet those needs in a low density and in our virtual world. We still plan to be high touch, safely from a distance. We still plan to approach you holistically and think about your whole experience as a student with the college. And we still plan to know each and every one of you. And we look forward to it. As Caleb mentioned, every decision we're making is within the public health framework and in alignment with our mission of social responsibility. So to that end, as Caleb mentioned, students will be receiving a PPE packet when they come to campus. They will have masks and shields. We will ask students to be physically distant outside of their spaces and inside as much as possible. And we will have hand washing and sanitation measures that will help keep our spaces clean, and spaces will be cleaned routinely throughout the day. It's still going to be fun and engaging. We will still be in community with each other, both on campus and off campus and wherever you are in the world. I'd like to thank the student advisory group that we've been meeting with. They have been working hard to put together a social contract with students, and so that will be coming out soon. And they've also helped us think about a lot of really fun and engaging ideas for you to get to know each other. And so I'd like to share some of those things. The first thing I do want to talk about is scurries, and you've probably heard that. Scurries is a group of squirrels, and that's an homage to our sort of informal mascot at the college. And scurry groups are not necessarily a public health measure. It's a social idea. It's a way to combat isolation. It's a way to facilitate meaningful relationships that you would build, and ways for you to get to know our diversity of students. You will have opportunities to socialize outside the scurry group with other scurry groups and with students who are not on campus. We're also open to scurry groups forming wherever you're located and connecting those groups to each other. So we're really open to collaborating on those ideas. Students on campus will participate in our rigorous testing process, and that's to keep all of us safe. So students will get nasal tests about twice a week, and approved off-campus students will be included in that testing program. And we have dedicated spaces on campus for quarantine. So if a student tests positive, we will move you to another space on campus that is very comfortable and very safe, and we will have staff there to help support you. Your meals will be delivered to you, and we will take good care of you. Students will start out in single rooms until we reach capacity, and we will only grow our capacity as public health allows. There's been some confusion regarding the access that approved off-campus students will have to campus. Our approved off-campus students will be invited onto campus to participate in our testing program that I just mentioned, and will have controlled access to the bear for purposes of wellness and well-being, which we care greatly about, and there will be study spaces within the bear that students can access. Further details about what will be available in the bear and how that will all work will be forthcoming. We do hope to expand access to other buildings on campus, but that of course depends on public health and how the bear access program goes. Our SHA counselors will be available for those students who are on campus and residing in Iowa. They will also be hosting groups and sponsoring programs for people who are not on our campus. Dining will be grab and go for now until we can expand that program. And now I'd like to move on to some of the work that the Student Advisory Group and SGA members have done, along with members of the Division of Student Affairs and faculty, to think through how we will be an engaging campus. One idea that students raised was they really value the important relationships that grow from mixing upper class and incoming first-year students in our residence halls. And so to that end, if students would like to enroll in a program, we'd like to get upper class students paired with incoming first-year students for mentoring and relationship building. And of course, you can opt out of that. I'd like to turn now to my colleague, Michael Sims, who can share some more of what is happening. He leads our Department of Student Involvement, and they have come up with a lot of great ideas that have been combined with the ideas from the Student Advisory Group and SGA.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm glad to be here with you. I'm sorry that we have to be in this way, and not looking forward to everyone being here on campus. I have been here for 23 years, so I've had a lot of different roles here on the campus, and so I've spent a lot of time with students both during the normal office hours and a lot more in the evenings and on weekends. There are a lot of groups that are planning a variety of, excuse me, of activities and things for you all. We know that this first semester is going to be more involved for a lot of you, really adjusting to 7.5 weeks to put in basically a full-time load during that period of time. But we do see that it is very important that we try to do things to connect you with others. For campus alone, we are looking at doing some things that will do kind of some grab and go concepts of programming where we can allow you to come and pick up materials or games or whatever that may be while you're picking up your meals, or at other times when you have breaks that you can then spend time with others to do. We will do just even some study break things. Good news is that through October we usually have pretty decent weather, so we'll have a lot of space outside to be able to provide you with just some study break things to be able to be outside on Mac Field or a variety of places to do some things. There will be a variety of things that we will also set up for individuals to do just in case when you're on campus. We want you to engage with those that are living in town and that are off campus, as well as your classmates that are out and are being subjected to the whole virtual experience for at least another block. And so we will provide things like we're going to do next week. Everybody will get information where we will set up things where you can do escape rooms. We will set up things where you can do some trivia and where you can also interact with individuals within the group. There are still comedians. There are concerts. There are different things that, yes, it's not the same feel of being in that same room, but you'll be able to do some interaction with these folks and with other students to at least enjoy some of those types of things. We'll try to set up some things here on campus that we can hopefully stream live from here so that you can see even maybe some of the students who are here and still be able to take part in some of the things that they're doing. Sarah has already mentioned about the importance of, and we know this particularly with first year students, they have missed out on a lot by many of them not having their high school graduation and now their first year experience not coming on traditionally to a campus. So it's important that our upper class interact with our first year students and welcome and pull them in. And so we will be looking at a variety of options to do those. It's endless. There are a variety of students that we are really looking to help gear those. So it's not just staff and administration saying, hey, we think these things are good for you. These are things that those who are experienced in Grinnell know of, some things that they know typically the average student may enjoy, and ways to bring you together.
Thanks, Michael. I just want to add to that a little bit to say I'm really hoping that we can construct some outdoor space so that we can do programming rain or shine here on campus, so that weather will not be a factor in whether or not we can gather, and that it can be constructed in such a way to encourage safe socialization between scurry groups and between individuals. We're looking at using gaming platforms and lots of things available to us to bring students together in all kinds of ways. And SGA will continue to support clubs and orgs. And I just want to reiterate what Michael said, which is a tradition at Grinnell College is that students are involved in these decisions. And we want to bring to campus events and bring things to you in your bedrooms and living rooms, the things that you want. And so we'll be inviting your ideas and your feedback so that we can keep you engaged and feeling connected to the community of Grinnellians all across the world. And I just want to end my comments to talk a little bit about diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is an important institutional value. And I want to thank my colleagues in the Division of Student Affairs, our scholar practitioners in intercultural affairs, in our Center for Religion, Spirituality, and Social Justice, and in international student affairs, excuse me. The Stonewall Resource Center will continue to have community hours and events, and they will still be providing gender-affirming resources and supplies. You'll get more information about how to be in touch with them as we get closer to the start of the school year. The Black Cultural Center will be hosting a speaker series and lots of events, and the Men of Color Empowered and Engaged and Women of Color groups will be meeting and participating with each other. There will be a new partnership with writers at Grinnell that will launch, and I think everyone's really excited about that and what that will bring. There will be coalitions on racial justice and confronting whiteness. There will continue to be Christian Bible study, text study of Hebrew scriptures, Torah study, Guma, and Shabbat and Havdalah. There will be opportunities for meditation, for first-generation students to come together for lunch, for advocates training and programming, and there will be international student programming, and our programming will take into consideration different time zones so that we can have participation from students all across the world. So with that, I would invite Anne to come back online and share with us some comments or questions. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yes. No. And Sarah, as I hear you, I just get so energized to think. I hope every student keeps a journal this year, because what it's going to mean to connect human to human is going to be so different from anything else that we've experienced within living memory. Of course, if we do the large historical scope, there are probably many touch points in human history. But when I hear you describe these meaningful meetings, these moments that students can have together on campus, with students off campus, with their families, with their friends off campus, I am so inspired to think of the richness of experience that will happen here at Grinnell. And yeah, I'm really excited about the series and the conversations that we will have with all this programming. So that is utterly fantastic.
I could just also say, put in a plug for if you're free to come to the next session where we're going to talk about more specifics, and I will announce some programming that's already going to start next week.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, that virtual community is really where there's also a lot of energy. Let me go ahead. Thank you very much for your questions. They resonate and came out of what you've been hearing. We've got a nice amount of time to really treat your questions here, so keep them coming. I'm going to start with a group of questions that have to do with the experience on campus and really the public health aspects of that experience on campus. So there was a question about basically what happens if a student becomes ill from the starting point of the test result and onward, and ask for a chronology of that. And thank you very much, because that's been carefully plotted and planned with, of course, our experts here on campus, as well as with our consultation team of epidemiologists, pandemicists, computational mathematicians, and so forth, because we're thinking ahead and we're thinking now. So what would happen, our students at this point are going to be tested 2 or 3 times a week. So that's a very, very vigorous testing program that we've got. Our goal is to prevent community spread. And we know that the living conditions on campus encourage community spread. So between the kind of civic trust campaign of wear a mask, be safe around each other, keep your physical distance, the behavioral piece, there's also going to be the testing piece. And those two things together, we hope, will keep our community safe. Believe me when I tell you, we're going to be learning every day, studying every day what's happening. So students will come in 2 to 3 times a week for their testing, and we'll be working that out depending on where we are in the semester, depending on what we're seeing in terms of rates. The labs that we're working with, of course, all of that data is private. It's all done with barcodes and so forth. So the test result goes out, it's going to come back. The way that we're working now, we really want a 24-hour turnaround. That would be the very best thing that we can do. We are aware of our geographical location and we are responding to it so that we have a 24-hour turnaround. So let's say that at the end of that 24-hour period, the student is notified that they are positive. So the very first thing that happens is that they will move into a space where they are isolated, where they can't spread the virus anymore. They will be moving then their learning to online learning, to remote learning, still with a lot of the support, but the support will now be, checking in and so forth. If the student is asymptomatic, they will stay in isolation until for a certain period of time, and we're still working that out. We're hearing anything from 10 days to 2 weeks at this point. So this idea of being mentally prepared, that if you do get a positive test, you'll be resilient to it, you'll know what's happening. We'll be charting all that out for you. move into isolation, continue your learning, right? Continue your connections. And if you're asymptomatic, it'll continue that way. If you're symptomatic, meaning you start to experience some of these issues, there will be, of course, we've got our Shaw team there, who's absolutely fantastic. This is our student health and wellness team, but there's also, of course, our hospitals. And this is where we've kept very careful track of hospitalization numbers and trends as much as we can, so that we can operate within a likely to be stressed healthcare system. So if your student, if your child or if you, the student, becomes symptomatic, there is the recourse to the hospital. Of course, I understand if a parent would want to come and retrieve their child, right, and bring them home. I myself am going to have a son going to college, so I'm having these same contingency plan conversations at home. You'll have to work with the physician and IDPH, that's the Iowa Department of Public Health. So I've tried to map that out from you. The first response to a positive test is isolation and remote learning. After that, we will stay with you to understand whether you're symptomatic and developing symptoms that need medical attention. We'll be in touch. Of course, the student will be in touch with family. And then if you're asymptomatic, we'll just ride it out until we have that sense that you're safe to be back with other people. Another public health question is the wearing of masks. Does more masks equal more students on campus? And the honest answer is it's too early to tell, because masks in a classroom, masks on the public spaces of our campus is one thing. We need to see what it's really like for students to live together in a dorm, in a residence hall, and to see what the transmission and what the community spread is in that situation. If we feel like, if we're all masked, then we can really keep transmission and community spread down, terrific. But I need to add another factor here, and that is I have never followed state legislation and state mandates as closely as I have now, but in the state of Iowa at this time, there is no mask mandate. Consequently, the minute that we're out in town, we're not in a situation where there are more masks, and we expect that students will walk around. They will not, as I understand right now, they will not be confined to campus. And of course, we have 200 students who live off campus who are likely to have interaction. And here we're looking at what things are likely, right, in terms of human behavior. We did not build a plan on 100% no one ever leaves their room or only goes where they're supposed to go. We're looking at human nature as well. And Sarah, please correct me on some of this as well, but that's the way that the plan was built. There is a mask campaign that we are, the college is working with town leaders on. The K through 12 schools will have masks and face shield required in some combination, but definitely masks. And so, there's some positive indicators here, but right now, masks in the classroom doesn't really mean having more students on campus. Okay, so let's keep moving here in terms of I've answered some of these questions as I go. I'm going to take just a little bit of a pause here because I think I want to now move to kind of fall one and what that looks like. So fall one, we are right now, when I use that term, very low density. That's 150 students on campus. These are students, the students who are going to be on campus for fall term one are in what we call highly stressed situations. These are either visa situations, home situations, health situations that really necessitate that the Grinnell College campus is the safest place for them. And then we'll have our 200 students who are approved to live off campus. So that is at capacity. 200 students off campus is really the capacity that we have for our public health model. Sarah, I believe I'm correct when I say that first year students who believe that they are in highly stressed situations should contact your office for a petition. Do you want to talk about that process just a little bit?
Yeah, there will be a communication, a targeted communication that will be going out. And so if you feel that you are in one of those situations where being on campus would be the safest place for you, if you are without a home, if you are in a home environment that is not safe for you, we do open our petition process to you. So look for that in your email. It will be coming, and we have a group of people who will be reviewing those petitions. And we don't have a cap per se. We just want to house the students who need to be housed here.
Okay, wonderful. Let's see. let's see, I think I'm going to read this one very precisely. Okay, testing for approved off-campus students. Will there be resources available for those students to self-isolate until we get test results back as we move back to Grinnell? That's a great question, and thank you for thinking that way. I really appreciate you thinking that way, because that, of course, you're thinking about the impact on others as well, and that whole civic trust piece is really going to be important. So in terms of the testing for approved on-campus students, and I think you're talking a little bit about the very early days here. Our hope, and here again, this is where we still need to probably be in communication and build together, is that off-campus students have the ability to isolate in their home. That's key. The ability to isolate is key. The ability to keep 6 feet of distance is key. The ability to be able to wear masks in communal spaces is key, things like that. But being able to isolate in your home, and that's what I would do. That's the most precaution you can do. And we just did this with my son, who returned to us from having lived somewhere else. He was saying goodbye to his friends back in Indiana. And he was isolated for 10 days. And then he was able to come out. That's because we didn't have a test for him. But in that, you will be able to be tested when you come on campus. And my understanding is we will do more frequent testing early when you come, so that you get those results and you kind of get that good baseline of whether you're positive or negative. You should be able to get into your routine. Certainly if it's negative, get into your routine. But if it's positive, you'll want to isolate right away and then follow that chronology that I described earlier. And if I haven't answered your question, keep asking it until I do. Sarah, what would you want to add here?
Yeah, approved off-campus students, if space allows, may request to be housed on campus for purposes of quarantine or isolation. In the event that would happen, we would be able to offer a sort of a 2-week meal plan that they could enroll in, so that we could deliver meals to them. And so it just depends on how much space we have. And right now we've planned to have plenty of space, and that could of course change, but we do have that as an option.
Okay, I'm seeing some more questions about, if we can just confine the students, can't we have them all on campus? And what I want to say here is all of our mathematical models, they do not run on 100% compliance. If you run a model on 100% compliance, then yeah, you probably could have 1,700 students on campus, but they will not. That is not any of the human nature that we have seen. And we don't have any policing capacity or frankly desire to constantly police students into keeping them on campus. We have built a model that also accommodates for human behavior as we're seeing it. And I'm going to say especially within 18 to 24-year-olds, right? So we're conscious of the fact that in Iowa, the bars and restaurants and businesses are still open. We are not in lockdown mode in the state of Iowa. And so, it only takes 1 student or 5 students, right, to go out and do that, and then you get your transmission. And so we've built a public health model that accommodates for that with all our mathematical modeling and so forth. It's also not just the masks, of course, it's the physical distancing. It's all the different ways that this virus can be transmitted. So this is why you're seeing us be so conservative in our numbers. And that is because of what we've learned, both watching human behavior, both understanding developmentally where students are and their need to connect with each other. The fact that 100% compliance is just not going to be possible. And so accepting that reality, embracing it, and building a system where students can still be safe within both the transmission and the human behavior. Several questions about what about F2, what about the spring? So as we pledged, and I'm so proud of our team, we will be able to deliver a new residency plan on early next week, as we communicated last week. So you'll get all those answers there. In terms of how will campus life differ for students? Something just bumped the question. Oh, it was such a good one too. It was about access to resources. Here we go, come on. How will campus life differ for students approved to be on campus? It bumped again. Let's see, from students approved for only a single term. Will our access to academic resources be the same? And that is a resounding yes. Absolutely, yes. That's really part of all the reworking and commitment that we've been doing, is to make sure that you've got access to those resources. And that can be student organizations, it can be academic resources, it can be the kind of social resources that we see or that we have here at the college. So that's really, really important to have. Okay, let's keep going here.
And I see a question about, I understand that many businesses are now looking at their air filtration systems for indoor air quality safety during COVID. Is Grinnell evaluating that for its buildings? And the answer is yes. Our director of facilities management is an engineer and has been working closely with his team to look into those very things, and has, frankly, since March. So that is something that we're looking at, and a lot of our bigger buildings like the JRC and Noyce and HSSC have very good HVAC systems, and they are very, very safe buildings. And so, yes, we continue to look at that and mitigate those risks.
So speaking of our buildings, I'm going to call on Professor Caleb Elfenbein here for a question about F1 courses being offered in 2 modes, in person and virtually. Having a hard time imagining a class working for both. So I think here we've got an important clarification then to make about remote learning. Go ahead, Caleb.
Yeah, thank you very much. So the question is about that kind of, it's called a high flex model, where things are happening simultaneously in a classroom and for people learning from a distance. And we have spent an incredible amount of time exploring different ways of teaching from a distance. And for the most part, we will not be employing a high flex model where things are happening simultaneously in a classroom and at home for students learning from a distance. Now, having said that, almost all of our courses this year will be synchronous in nature. This is going to be a big difference from what happened in the spring when we moved to distance teaching and learning so quickly. Synchronous learning means that students will gather together with their professor and work through material together, ask questions together. And that's really going to be at the heart of our academic program, synchronous learning. And so we won't have those courses that are happening in person on campus and from a distance at the same time. But we will have a lot of synchronous learning, that is, professors working with students in real time to ask challenging questions and having hard conversations about hard and good conversations about material together. I also just wanted to note before I turn things back over that right before I came to this meeting, I was together with colleagues on staff and faculty talking about our teaching and learning spaces, and we had an extended conversation about ventilation. And that is one of the key concerns that we have. And Rick Whitney, our head of facilities management, really has been doing an amazing job making sure that all of our facilities will keep people as safe and healthy as possible.
Terrific. Okay, to clarify, if a student is sick, we will try first the local hospitals and then we will branch out. This is why we've kept track of what's going on in Iowa City and in Des Moines. And this is why we're watching those trends as well. If you've looked at our dashboard, you know, we're looking at that I-80 corridor. So we'll start here and then branch out. In terms of, and I know I'm so happy we've got Tim Arner here. He is the chair of the curriculum committee and a faculty member. Tim, will there be an add drop period is a question that we're getting so that students can register or re-register for courses if they've been moved around. And if Tim can't answer that, Caleb, maybe you can. I believe there is an add drop period. Yeah. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads. Will this be recorded and sent to people to students? And I love the parent who's advocating for the student to hear and process this information themselves. Absolutely. This is a recorded session and it will be posted both for faculty and staff here and for parents and students. Caleb, you want to add something?
I just wanted to say a word about the add drop period, if I could. So right now, our goal is to have student schedules posted on July 31st. That is our goal. And the add drop period will be from August 10th to August 21st. So running right up close to the start of classes. That's my understanding. And so what that means is that students will have the opportunity between when their schedules are complete and when add drop period begins, they'll have the opportunity to work with their advisor to think through how best to make adjustments to their schedules. And so I believe those are the dates that people can keep in mind through this process.
And I know there'll be more information about that. So thank you very much. The individual who contributed the daily symptom monitoring and reporting app at your institution, working at the university where you're working. I know we've had some conversation about that. I haven't seen it get a whole lot of traction, but it's noted. And I know we've got a lot of people here. Sarah, for example, will probably follow up on that one in particular and take a look at it. And then a quick question about Maine's dining hall. I love Maine. It is so beautiful. And right now we're really looking at grab and go, meaning, and this is what you're seeing really a lot across higher ed. So students picking up, and we're going to encourage everybody to eat outside as long as possible because that is safer, right? Those respiratory droplets diffuse much faster than if you're inside. So right now, no plans, but you know, we're going to keep that grab and go kind of motion going. And I'm going to let Sarah add something there. And then she knows how much I love Maine. And then also answer a question that was asked earlier about storage when students put things in storage back in March, which was a lifetime ago.
Yes, and I was just going to add that Maine is full of people's stored items. So we aren't going to be feeding people there because everybody's stuff is there. And so, yes, we can figure out a way for people to get their stored items safely. We will find a way to do that within the public health guidelines.
Okay, so our schedules only fall 1 or fall 1 and fall 2 by July 31st. That is a great question. We have both Tim and Caleb here to answer that. And then we're going to be wrapping up the hour here together. I'll take a quick look and we'll get these quick questions answered. And you know what? I also want to say thank you for your positive comments. Those are greatly appreciated. I've said publicly, critique is care, and I believe that. And questions build answers. I believe that. I also just want to appreciate on behalf of the faculty and staff your positive comments as well. They're greatly appreciated, and I'll take all that positivity back into the ingenuity work that we're doing. So let's see if we can answer these quick questions in rapid succession here. There was one, our schedules only F1 or both fall 1 and fall 2 by July 31st.
And I believe that registration will be for fall 1 and fall 2 at the same time.
Thank you for that. I have another response to a question. We will announce, and you see I've got my team here helping me out, texting me because we want to be very precise as we wind up the hour. We will announce residency plans for the rest of the year next week. And we are asking for responses to invitations by July 31st. So this is what we mean by that decision making and giving you the information you need for the resilience, the problem solving, the support. So you've got that full, this is why also this is going to be recorded and why we continue to ask, to invite questions. When will gap year decisions be released? Joe, if you've got a quick answer to that one, we can keep moving. And yes, I'm proud to be a Grinnellian too, to that wonderful comment that was just posted. And to be clear, again, the courses are going to be in remote learning, and there's a great deal of connection being made that Caleb described in detail earlier. We will have students in residence, but doing remote learning. This is really the model that we're doing now. Okay, let's see. Early August, writes Joe, for the gap year answers. Dear Grinnellians, it is 4:30 p.m. in the Prairie, and I wish you a wonderful afternoon. Thank you, parents, students, community members, for being here. Thank you, Hive Mind, Brain Trust, all the different ways we can think about ourselves. creating academic experience. I'm going to say against all odds, but you know what? We're doing it, and we're building something very strong, very good. And no, it will not be easy. I don't see anything easy here, but I do see something incredibly meaningful and memorable. And I thank you. Everyone on campus, everyone off campus. Thank you, Grinnell. Go Grinnell. Here we go. You take good care, everybody. Take good care. Bye-bye.